but he had the freedom to move to the country that they most supported, right? It's like a global mobility idea. Then maybe, assuming people could move. If you interpret it as people have the ability to save their wealth in Bitcoin, then I like that idea. Like, move your property to Bitcoin. The challenge I see is if you give the mayor of a small city in Kansas the ability to succeed, and he's on the superhighway and they succeed, and then they put up a toll booth and they charge everybody $200 every time they cross a 100-meter stretch of highway, then you're going to have like lots of petty, wars, right? Like
you're just going to have another highway built around it.
Yeah, you have another highway.
No.
Yeah.
Like that. I mean, what you're saying there is someone that happens to be in a small municipality with a bridge that was built 100 years ago has the ability to extort money out of everyone that crosses the bridge unless they want to spend $20 billion to build their own bridge again. And so you're just inviting some petty extortion at the local level over and over again. I mean, that could be a disaster. What are you going to do if 20,000 cities all succeed at the same time and everybody basically charges you $10,000 to cross their city limits, right? If every single city had the ability to succeed from the state and from the union, then you would have chaos, and then you'll have like all sorts of local demagogues that are all basically jostling each other for power to extort or blackmail everybody else in the country, right?
The renowned author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki, advises buying gold, silver, and Bitcoin today before a market crash. Kiyosaki emphasizes the need to act now as he predicts a crash in stocks, bonds, and real estate, driving people towards these assets. Kiyosaki foresees Bitcoin at $500,000 by 2025, gold at $5,000, and silver at $500. He suggests Bitcoin could hit $1 million in a global economic collapse. Bitcoin's history reveals that it often hits the 78.6% Fibonacci retracement level before a halving event. Exploring the significance of the 78.6% Fibonacci retracement level as a potential support and resistance point. With the next halving just 7 months away, historical data suggests Bitcoin may reach $48,700, but caution is advised. Grayscale files for an Ethereum futures-based ETF following their SEC victory. Caitlin Long defends cryptocurrency's legitimacy, comparing it to the tech bubble and emphasizing its maturation. Floki, named after Elon Musk's dog, outperforms other meme coins. Skybridge Capital founder Anthony Scaramucci remains bullish on Bitcoin, predicting widespread adoption with the rise of Bitcoin ETFs. Skybridge Capital founder Anthony Scaramucci believes every Wall Street firm will offer Bitcoin ETFs, driving mass adoption. Scaramucci predicts a remarkably bullish future for Bitcoin, urging holders not to sell and comparing Bitcoin to the internet's mainstreaming. Despite macro challenges, Scaramucci sees Bitcoin thriving, especially with the approval of Bitcoin ETFs. Let's continue our discussion with Michael Saylor.
Government via natural protocol, natural objective, rational protocol is the best, and that's what Bitcoin is, right? The way that trees grow and the way that fish swim and the way that birds fly and the way that nature evolves is the best governance protocol. But the second best governance protocol, in my opinion, is a systemic meritocracy based on charter or constitution, if you can, with checks and balances, term limits, a continual electoral or merit-based process that replaces the leadership. I mean, the reason I think that, that, by the way, that's the conclusion of the Founding Fathers, right? They gave us a constitution, freedom of assembly, freedom of speech, franchise, broadly distributed, right? And a system to appoint leaders over time. If I compare two situations and the incentives, and we'll talk about monarchy for a second. I'm going to base my comments on a reading of, Will Durant's Oriental Heritage, 1,000 pages of history of Oriental monarchies, followed by The Greek Experiment by Will Durant, another 1,000 pages, followed by The History of Rome and Christ, another 1,000 pages, followed by The Age of Faith, another 1,500 pages or something, followed by all these other histories. And I think probably there's 1,000 stories of monarchies, and here's the way it oftentimes evolves. There's a good monarch, They claim a lot of territory. They get married. They want sons. They don't get them. The kingdom devolves into civil war. Okay? Or there's a good monarch. They get married. They have sons, a bunch of sons, like William the Conqueror, like Philip of Macedon, etc. And then they go off to fight, and then their brother-in-law starts to whisper in the ear of the 12-year-old kid, you know, your father's never going to give you the throne, or he's never going to give you the kingdom, and so you need to depose him. And so you end up with the father fighting the son, or you end up with, you know, like how do you corrupt a 12-year-old kid, right? You give them sex, drugs, alcohol, power, or you just get in their head. And so in a hereditary monarchy, you end up with endless intrigue, and the only way you do a recall is assassination. So you end up with endless assassinations, and you end up with the younger brother killing the older brother because he thinks the older brother's going to kill him when he sins, or you end up with the older brother killing brothers 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then you end up with 3 wives and the concubine poisons the second wife, the first 3 sons, and promotes her son. And if you're William the Conqueror, you go off and you conquer the UK, and then the French lords in the background intrigue with your oldest son. And, William the Conqueror, the great man he was, died fighting his own son, right? Philip the Macedon's first son killed the second son. And, their history is full of examples where what generally happens is, if you're lucky, you have a peaceful succession and the guy's mediocre, and then by the 3rd generation, the king's awful. But very often what happens is, and this is it's too much temptation. It's someone wants power. One of your feudal lords wants power. You're busy running the nation. He goes and finds your 8-year-old daughter, 8-year-old son, murders 3 other kids, has a kid with that one, and elevates them. Or your ex-wife or your second wife murders you in favor of your 8-year-old son, and then she rules as regent with her lover, who is the head of the palace guard. So there's, I could give you 1,000 examples, right? In Greek history, Byzantine history, Persian history, every history, Chinese history, it goes on and on. So the problem with monarchy is you end up with endless intrigue and assassination, civil war, mediocrity, and centralization. And let's take the other extreme, a perfect meritocracy. Now, there's no government like this. If you wanted to characterize this in a simple biological metaphor, you'd say you dropped the apex political predator into the new world in a very high energy-rich environment with very weak natural competitors in the same niche, and it just displaced all of the other political creatures, multiplied, expanded the entire environment, and kept spreading until it took over the entire continent. We pretty much took all of the land that we wanted from East Coast to West Coast, and maybe we stopped at the desert in the south and the tundra at the north, but it really is a very Darwinian process based upon, natural behavior.
Bitcoin started the weekend in consolidation as traders seemingly found a new price floor at $26,500. The price uncertainty comes as markets settled following a volatile week, which was headlined by the Federal Reserve rate decision. Ethereum remains below $1,600. The U.S. House Financial Services Committee has passed the CBDC Anti-Surveillance State Act, the first anti-central bank digital currency legislative effort introduced in the United States. Congressman Tom Emmer detailed that the bill halts the efforts of the Biden administration from issuing a financial surveillance tool that will undermine the American way of life. And that concludes an insightful episode of Money Tail Case. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more daily updates. Remember, knowledge is power, and we're here to empower you on your financial journey. Until next time, happy investing.